everyone, and welcome to Insights, where we discuss a new topic in every episode. So today we are going to discuss about Shakespeare and the Gandhis, and more specifically a saying from Romeo and Juliet.
Hi Ananya, it's good to be with you again. Yes, one of the most beautiful sayings and profound sayings in Romeo and Juliet is Juliet says, "What's in a name? That which we call a rose would smell as sweet, even if it was another name." So also, as far as the essence of the Gandhis are concerned, the Gandhi, I mean the rulers of the Congress party, that would not be affected if they had different names. But there have been major impacts in otherwise, in a political sense, a name is actually very important. The new names that were acquired by certain members of the Gandhi family had an enormous impact on perceptions around them.
So Rajesh, which Gandhi are you speaking of?
Let's start with Indira Nehru. Indira Nehru, daughter of Jawaharlal Nehru, she fell in love with Mr. Feroz Gandhi, a Parsi, a Zoroastrian by faith, and then she became Indira Nehru Gandhi. Now, Feroz Gandhi had nothing to do whatsoever with the Mahatma. It's just a coincidence. But Indira, she acquired the new name, which was a very powerful name. Name was before also powerful, Indira Nehru, but it became yet more powerful because it became Indira Nehru Gandhi. As we know that Nehru was a very important personality in the Indian freedom movement, but he was, relative to Mahatma Gandhi, a small fry.
So do you think Indira Gandhi, the unmarried daughter of Pandit Nehru, married Feroz Gandhi for his last name?
No, I don't think that's a fair comment. I believe that Indira Nehru genuinely fell in love with Feroz Gandhi and she married him for love. And then she was happy enough to take his name. But I would say that if Indira ji had fallen in love with Feroz Gupta or Feroz Agarwal or Feroz Ahmed, then she may have been reluctant to take on their last name. With Feroz Gandhi, it just fell into place, Indira Nehru Gandhi. Indira Nehru became Indira Nehru Gandhi. But Indira Gupta or Indira Agarwal or Indira Ahmed, that would not have carried the same resonance. Even if she took her father's first name, father's last name to be her middle name, Indira Nehru Gupta, Indira Nehru Agarwal, the resonance would not have been the same. The impact would not have been the same, if you see what I mean.
But Indira Nehru was somewhat impressive itself, wasn't it?
Yes, it was, Ananya. But by marrying Feroz, Indira ji performed a kind of coup in terms of her branding, her brand name. Indira Nehru was impressive, but Indira Nehru Gandhi, I'm sure she didn't think of the political advantages that this new name would have for her when she married Feroz Gandhi. But later on, it's just what kind of a coincidence, a grand coincidence. I mean, Indira Nehru Gandhi, it had great advantages for her, not only in the country, but even overseas.
Overseas too?
Yes. Overseas as well. I cannot tell you, I cannot count the names of foreigners who have asked me, and Ananya, I have traveled to many, many countries. And so many times foreigners have asked me, is Indira Gandhi the daughter of Mahatma Gandhi? Sometimes they don't even ask me. They say, oh, so Indira Gandhi, who is the daughter of Mahatma Gandhi, they just conclude it. 2 plus 2 is 22. Because how much do we go into the minutiae of politics in another country? So they just assume that she was connected to the Gandhi family. In India also the name, carried resonance. Of course, here people could make the connection. But I could say that this is the equivalent of getting a lord in the United Kingdom or a sir. You might be sir so-and-so or you might be lord so-and-so. But the Gandhi brand name, that was bigger than any lord, that was bigger than any knight, that was bigger than anything else. It was the single most important name in India. There is a great irony here. Mahatma Gandhi, he was such an ethical man that he wanted to make sure that none of his children took advantage of the fact that he was such a prominent figure in India. So he made sure his son wanted to go overseas to study. He said, no, you can't go. he even made sure that his son and other children, they could not have an important role in Indian politics. So his own children, they could not take advantage of the name Gandhi, and they could not really take advantage of their connection. So it's an irony that somebody else, his protege Nehru's daughter, eventually she took the advantage of the name Gandhi.
You spoke of Shakespeare and the Gandhis, so I'm pretty sure it was not Indira Gandhi alone. Which other Gandhi did you have in mind?
Well, obviously, it is Madam Sonia Gandhi. Sonia Gandhi also had a name change, and that name change was very impactful for her future in the politics of this country. In fact, you could say that for Indira Gandhi, the name change was not essential. Indira Nehru was already a brand name. It helped Indira Gandhi, but it was not essential. But for Sonia Gandhi, the name change was more or less essential. Sonia's maiden name, I think, was Antonia Edviga Albina Mino, a mouthful by any standards. So for Sonia, the name change was more or less essential. Without a name change, she could have had no future in Indian politics. So, and the name choice was brilliant, which, from Antonia to Sonia. Now, when I'm saying this name, it's a bit of a tongue twister even for a European, I think. But for an Indian, even an educated Indian, her actual name is really a big tongue twister. To simplify it, to resonate with Indian audiences, the name change was more or less, I would say, essential for her future in politics. In fact, had Sonia Gandhi not had a name change, I would say categorically that she could have had a future. She could never have become the president of the Indian National Congress. She may not even have been able to get elected in parliament.
That's so true, but no one ever points it out.
Yes, but if you think of it, the Congress has the slogan, Desh ki Neta Sonia Gandhi, Desh ki Neta Sonia Gandhi. Now, instead of that, if they had Desh ki Neta Antonio Edgive Mino, and that also, is reducing her name, people would have just wondered, who is this person? Where has this person, which part of the world has this person come from? Nobody could have accepted her.
So early on, to give her more Indianness, the Gandhi family decided to change her name from Antonia to Sonia?
Yeah, the change to Sonia was a masterstroke. Whoever thought of it, whichever Namkaran Pandit thought of it, was a genius. Because as former President Zail Singh once told Sonia, he said, if you go to the Punjab, every village in the Punjab has a girl called Sonia. Because Soni means beautiful and Sonia means the one who is beautiful. So it's true. There are 100,000 villages, maybe more in the Punjab, and each village will have a Sonia. Sonia is such a common name, not only in the Punjab but even outside. But Sonia also matches a bit with Antonia, which was her original name. So it was a great namkaran.
So she changed her first name and dropped her Italian name completely?
Yes, I think that was very well thought out and very sensible on her part. Because Indira sometimes used Indira Gandhi, sometimes she used Indira Nehru Gandhi. She could keep both the names. But Sonia Gandhi had to drop Mino completely. If she said Sonia Mino Gandhi, people would say, what does Mino mean? Because Mino in India means, what is the meaning? So it would have been Sonia Mino Gandhi, meaning Sonia means Gandhi. Kind of a strange kind of name. So she chose to drop her middle name completely. So it was politically advantageous and sensible. I mean, I don't blame her for that. I think this is just common sense, intelligence, realizing where you are. If you want an entry into the politics of this country, you need a certain kind of name.
That's true, but her daughter Priyanka used her husband's name.
Yes, that too would have been discussed in the Gandhi family. In India, people like the women to be respectful of their husbands' families. So Priyanka Gandhi could not have dropped Vadra. Otherwise, people would have said, oh, she thinks too much of herself. She's a very egoistic character. She isn't taking on her husband's name. So it would have been discussed, and Vadra is not a foreign name, so there would have been no disconnect. So her name was Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, but she didn't drop Gandhi. She didn't become Priyanka Vadra because Gandhi was very important for her. And today, through a sleight of hand, everybody calls her Priyanka Gandhi. The Vadra is it's almost sort of dropped off. If they are going to start shouting slogans, Desh Ki Neta, they are not going to say Priyanka Gandhi Vadra. They'll just say Priyanka Gandhi. Good enough.
So Shakespeare was not exactly right when he said what's in a name.
Well, at least not in politics. There are other things, for example, Rahul Gandhi is the one to go to Europe most frequently. He almost goes every month, and he has been criticized, I think, by Ramchandra Guha, among other people, that why does he go so often? But Sonia and Priyanka also keep going to Europe, especially to Italy, where they have a family. Now, do you think that Sonia and Priyanka, they'll still be wearing the sari when they land in Europe, when they reach Rome airport? Soon after that, do you think they'll still be attired in sari?
I'm not sure she does, but it never occurred to me.
Well, I'm sure she does not wear a sari. Neither Sonia nor Priyanka will wear sari. Sonia grew up wearing skirts, jeans. Jeans were around, dresses when she was young. And she adopted the Indian attire only much later when she was married to Rajiv Gandhi. So she goes to Europe. Her family is going to start thinking, what are you wearing? Why don't you get more comfortable? So she's going to slip into more comfortable attire. She's going to wear a skirt or a dress, and that's how it should be. And the same is probably true for Priyanka. But they will take care not to have anybody photographing them in these European attire. I'm reminded, for example, as you know, I worked in different parts of the world. When I used to fly into Somalia from a westernized or a Christian nation like, say, Kenya, the woman in the aircraft, 15 minutes we are about to land in Somalia, they would start taking out their headgear, their hijabs, their conservative uniform, and they would start wearing it. And the same thing happens when I leave Afghanistan, for a European destination. Supposing I'm going to Istanbul or somewhere else. The ladies, they start removing their traditional attire. So, for them it is a kind of social compulsion that they have to wear the headscarves in the Islamic societies where they live. You could say that for Priyanka and Sonia, it's a kind of political compulsion.
So why would Priyanka and Sonia be extra careful not to be photographed in Italy when they're wearing skirts and dresses?
Well, for example, there's a reporter there. He takes a few photographs of them dressed in European attire. He sends it over to some colleagues in India. Election is going to take place. Newspaper splashes photographs of Sonia and Priyanka wearing European dresses. It will affect their image. It will dent their political image. So they have to be careful.
But that should not be the case.
Yes, in an ideal world, I don't think it should matter. But Sonia has a kind of matronly, motherly kind of an image here. And if she's seen to be wearing Western attire, it will dent that image. Because she's a foreigner. Now, if Maneka Gandhi, if she wears trousers or if she wears a dress, it doesn't matter. Because she's anyhow Indian. But in order to, because she's a foreigner, Sonia needs to emphasize her Indianness. So she should not be captured in camera wearing European dresses. Otherwise, the allegation that she's a foreigner, that can be more easily made.
That makes sense, but it is a bit unfortunate that Priyanka and Sonia cannot wear dresses or skirts in India just because they want to, because in that way I, an ordinary person, have more freedom to do so.
Yes, that's the paradox of power, Ananya. That sometimes politicians have to be very careful with their image. Shakespeare never said, what's in a dress? At least I don't remember one of his characters saying that in some other play. Otherwise, we could have done an Insights episode on that as well.
So that was it for today. Thank you, Rajesh, for telling us so much about things we definitely didn't know before.
Thank you, Ananya. I think a short but interesting episode, and look forward to being with you and your team once again.
We hope that we see you soon with yet another episode. Till then, stay connected with us.